Before we start, I want to say this clearly. If intimacy feels hard for you, confusing, uncomfortable, challenging, or inconsistent, it's usually not about your relationships, and it's not because you don't want closeness. It's about what your subconscious mind learned a long time ago about being close to another person. Your subconscious mind is always asking one question: is this safe for me? It decides what feels safe, what feels risky, and when to pull away, even when you consciously want connection with others. That's why some people crave intimacy but feel tense, overwhelmed when things get quiet and calm. That's why closeness can feel overwhelming instead of comforting. And that's why you can understand yourself intellectually and still repeat the same patterns again and again. This episode is not about fixing yourself. It's not about learning better relationship skills, tools, and it's definitely not about blaming anyone. It's about understanding the subconscious patterns that shape intimacy, patterns formed through early experiences, childhood, emotional baggage, and survival decisions you didn't consciously choose. And when you understand those patterns at the root, intimacy stops feeling confusing, and it starts feeling safer and more natural. If you've ever wondered why closeness feels harder than it should, stay and listen to this episode. This podcast is for the soul who knows there is more, the one who's been carrying it all for far too long. If you're ready to let go of old stories, to stop replaying the past and start living from your truth, you're in the right place. This is your moment to release the noise and reconnect to what's real. Welcome to Baggage Begun, Healing Hearts and Minds. I'm Tammy Machmali. Hi there and welcome back to Baggage Begun, Healing Hearts and Minds podcast. I'm Tammy Machmali. Here in this space, we talk about the mental and emotional baggage we carry, how it quietly shapes our choices, especially in connections with others, and how to actually clear it, not just by talking about that. Today, I want to talk about intimacy. Not just dating, not relationships with others, also intimacy with ourselves. Because a lot of people say they want intimacy, but their body is doing everything it can to avoid it. And that's not random. Let me say this clearly before we go any further. If intimacy feels uncomfortable, overwhelming, or confusing for you, it does not mean that anything is wrong with you. It usually means that at some point in your life, intimacy was not safe for you. That experience is still living in your subconscious mind, and your nervous system remembers it. So every time you're about to get closer to others, you will do something to keep you away from getting any closer or have deep connections with others. With Valentine's Day coming up, I thought that this becomes more noticeable. People start thinking about closeness, connection, and being seen, even if they don't say it out loud. You can feel it in the air, in the energy. Most people think intimacy means closeness, talking more, sharing more, going out more, being emotionally open, and of course sex. But real intimacy is not about how much you share or how much you meet other people. It's about how safe you feel in your body, in your mind, staying present with yourself while you're with someone else. When I say intimacy, I mean the ability to stay present, honest, and connected to yourself without shutting down, needing to overgive, performing, or abandoning yourself. Intimacy starts with you first. It's learning to be comfortable in your own skin, being true, respectful, authentic, and grateful to yourself first, and then to others. Without this essential foundation, people feel pain and confusion and ask, why can't I get closer to others? Or what's wrong with me? What intimacy really is. Intimacy requires being seen, respected, vulnerable, truthful, and grateful, first with yourself. If being seen in the past came with criticism, pressure, emotional responsibility, or the sense that you had to manage someone else's feelings, your system learned to pull away. This is how mental and emotional baggage around intimacy and relationship is created. So now, even quiet closeness feel like too much, even when nothing is actually going on or anything is wrong. This can show up in very ordinary ways, like pulling away when someone gets too close to you, or when relationships are calm, serene, when you have this moment and you feel really scary because everything is okay, or feeling irritated when there is nothing to fix, control, or manage, and you feel out of control because of that. You're losing your identity because you cannot fix, control, or manage other people. Or wanting space when everything is actually okay and suddenly you're looking for problems and there are none. But because you're afraid of intimacy, all the above going to bother you. That response is not a flaw. It's all mental and emotional baggage running in the background. Your unconscious mind is trying to keep you safe and protected when you don't need it anymore. Here is the part most people miss. You cannot force intimacy with others. It is energy after all. The heart attracts another heart. I want you to remember that. You cannot think your way into it. People feel vibration and frequency. It's not about how smart, beautiful, or successful you are, and you cannot perform your way into it. Have you noticed how sometimes one quiet person in the room draws your attention while they sit calmly at the end of the room? Do you remember those moments that all of a sudden someone is really pulling your attention without doing anything? That's energy. You feel their energy. Intimacy only happens when your body feels safe enough to stay. And that safety begins when you respect yourself, stay authentic and truthful, and are grateful to yourself first. If you spend years overriding your feelings, pushing through discomfort, people pleasing to be loved, or being the strong one, intimacy can feel foreign, almost non-existent. Believe it or not, that's how I lived my life. For the longest time, I was terrified of getting close to others until I learned these principles. These are the principles I had to go through to heal in order to be able to get closer to others. And remember, it's not because you don't really want a close relationship. It's not because you don't deserve it. It is because your nervous system, your subconscious mind, learned that distance from others equals safety. Closeness represents for you danger. This is not just mindset issue. It's not about affirmation or talking in therapy. It is deep mental and emotional baggage rooted in the subconscious mind. Something that happened a long time ago. It might be something as small as being bullied at school, or one of your parents wasn't available, or you learned that closeness is dangerous because maybe you lost someone special when you were younger. Over time, your nervous system, your subconscious mind becomes comfortable operating this way because there is old programming, old story that resides in your subconscious mind. I hear people say they cannot get into intimate relationships, no matter how much they want closeness with others. After a few minutes of conversation with them, it often becomes clear that they are afraid to be vulnerable and congruent with someone else because as children they learn that being vulnerable and true was a sign of weakness. That's one of the common things that I hear from others. And this is where I want to stop you and say something important. You're not struggling with intimacy. You are living from an old identity that you created, and that's mental and emotional baggage formed when intimacy was not safe earlier on, whether in your childhood, earlier life experiences, or even generational patterns. I learned a long time ago that we don't change through effort. We change when we stop identifying with who we had to be to survive and ask, who do I want to be today? And you can choose differently every 10 minutes. And we can choose differently again and again because our energy shifts constantly. If closeness once requires you to stay contained, quiet, or self-sufficient, your nervous system didn't just learn the habit. You were programmed to do so. It learned who you believe you must be in order to stay safe. There is an information into your subconscious mind, a programming that learn who you believe you must be in order to stay safe, and you're still operating from the same concept today when you no longer need this programming. That's why intimacy feels threatening to you. It challenges an identity that once protected you, but it's no longer serving you today. And I encourage you to dive deeper and take the time to go to therapy or do energy healing in order to reprogram this mindset, this rooted subconscious belief that intimacy is not safe, so you can get into the relationships that you want to be. Get closer to others. Get closer to yourself. You don't need to change who you are. You want to choose to let go of the old script, the persona you built to create an invisible wall, and open your heart to life and to the endless possibilities that are available in every moment for you. That cannot happen if you're still living, operating from the old story of being small, powerless, or a victim. It happens when you stand in your true light, respecting your boundaries, values, and truth, being authentic and congruent in your thoughts, intentions, words, and actions. And believe it or not, it's possible easily and effortlessly. You can have few sessions of hypnosis when we use the baggage began method and we let it go and we reprogram it to whatever was your truth, aligning you with your soul journey, what was true to you the moment you were born. And there are common confusions. Let me bring clarity. This is where people get stuck. They think intimacy means explaining themselves more, giving more access, or staying open and crossing their boundaries while others cross their boundaries, playing small and feeling like a victim, like sacrificing themselves for others. And that's not intimacy. That's self-abandonment. Sacrificing yourself for others, it's not intimacy. Real intimacy includes setting good boundaries. It includes pauses. It includes honestly with yourself before you opening up with anyone else. Many people think they're being good at intimacy because they have a lot of friends. They have a lot of people that call them when they're actually overriding themselves. That's not intimacy. That's survival patterns that are no longer serving you. Why this feels so hard? Attachment researcher, including the work of Sue Johnson, shows that humans get closer to each other through emotional safety and responsiveness, meaning we feel rapport with other people, not just chemistry. We don't need to make any effort and not fixing each other. When the nervous system doesn't feel safe, closeness triggers defense mechanism. Even when you love someone else, you feel like you need to protect yourself. Neuroscience research also shows that perceived emotional safety directly affects the vagus nervous and stress responses. And then we are choosing whether the body moves toward wanting the connection or you're afraid from this connection, so you're looking for protection. If you grew up having to adjust yourself to keep connections, to be intimate with other people, connection meant staying quiet, be strong, not need too much from others, intimacy will not feel safe in your body because in your subconscious mind, there is a story that says that connection is not safe. So your nervous system chooses what feels familiar, not what really healthy for you today. That's why people say, I don't know why I feel alone, even when I'm close to someone else. That's because you don't have the requirement for intimacy. The truth, vulnerability, allowance for someone else to be themselves, respect. That's why it's hard to be close to other people, because you don't have these components that we talked about. Being alone was familiar early on, so the nervous system today keeps recreating it, not because you want the pain, not because you want to be alone, but because you recognize it as familiar and safe. Emotional baggage is not just a memory. It's stored behavior, patterns, attachment, identity that are stored at the subconscious mind level, and that's the root cause of the problem. Whenever you're ready to clear it, then you can create something new. That's when your energy shifts. Your nervous system remembers what your conscious mind forgot and keeps reinforcing who you believe you have to be in order to stay safe. This creates misalignment between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, and that's why a lot of times you get stuck and things are not moving. So if love once meant waiting, chasing, or proving your self-worth, your body keeps recreating the same dynamic, not because you want to suffer or you like pain and hurt, but because it's loyal to an old self-image and programming. When you change the way you see yourself, what you tolerate and what you attract, changes will become automatically. The energy will shift. That's why insight or awareness alone does not change intimacy patterns. The body has to feel safety, and identity has to be reprogrammed what you believed in the past that is no longer serving you. This is the work we do in Baggage Begun, releasing emotional mental baggage at the root so the conscious and subconscious mind can finally align and be on the same page. That's alignment, that's synchronizing the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And I hope that was helpful to you. Before we end, I want to wish you a happy Valentine's Day if you're celebrating, and invite you to drop the pressure and think about what's right for you. If intimacy feels hard for you right now, start here. Not by fixing yourself, not by pushing yourself too much, not by judging and criticizing yourself, tapping yourself on the shoulder and being proud of yourself for wanting change. By noticing when you leave yourself and gently coming back to you, you are not learning how to be intimate, you're unlearning who you had to be in the past to survive. And remember, intimacy is truth, vulnerability, respect to yourself first, being authentic to yourself. And this is how we start. This is the beginning, starting with you. If this episode touched something deeper for you, you're welcome to reach out and schedule a session with me through Baggage Begun Healing Hearts and Minds. You can DM me, you can call me. This is subconscious and nervous system work, not just talk therapy, not fixing. So intimacy can stop feeling threatening and start feeling natural again. If this episode was helpful to you, please share it with others, comment, leave a review, and subscribe. Can't wait to see you next time. Thank you for listening. I'm really grateful for staying until now, and I will see you next week. This is Tammy, sending you love and light. If you're curious and want to dive deeper, you are in the right space. I ask you to look within for all the things that you want to do, be, and have. Join me at the Baggage Begun Healing Hearts and Minds podcast with new episodes every Wednesday as we discover the path towards healing and transformation.